welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Life Insights with Dr. Mercy. Today I have a guest in the house. All right, I have a guest who will be discussing with me today. She's a young adult. She is a college student, and like I told you, I'm concerned about the upcoming, younger ones. I'm burdened. I'm worried about them. I'm worried about how they perceive all the craziness going on, and how it affects, them, especially their decision making. And I want to kind of have interactions with them, young people, and see if we, the adults, if we're really relevant, in providing solutions, for them in this present day and time. So that's why I invited her to have this next segment with me. We'll be talking, we're going to continue on what I was discussing in my last video. Remember, we're talking about self-discovery as part of the things we need to do before we can go into a serious relationship. It is good that you know who you are. Discover yourself. Don't just go into a relationship sheepishly, like someone who is lost. You don't know who you are. You don't know the things that matter to you, the things that are important to you. You don't know the things that you are good at. You don't just, like, if somebody even asks you a question about yourself, you can't answer it confidently. And then the next thing you want to do is jump into a serious relationship with another person. I don't think you would have prepared yourself enough. And I'm looking at the instability that marriages have now as something we should take from the grassroots. We should really find out the foundational reasons, foundational factors that are making marriages today not to last, making marriages to start off beautiful today, flamboyant, the wedding is expensive, everything is gorgeous, the guests are all over the place, the wedding's talk of the town, and before you know it, the marriage packs up. So I have this young adult in the house today, and I want her to answer a few questions to see if what we're discussing is really relevant, in helping them to make right choices when it comes to marriage or entering serious relationships, building and sustaining marriage relationships. So I would like her to do a little bit of introduction by herself. So
hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm a Malian. I am currently an IT major at Syracuse University. My hobbies / businesses include selling cosmetics and also being a hairstylist. So I specialize in knotless braids and soft locks, etc., etc. On campus, I'm also part of the WellsLink program. I'm also part of the One World African Dance Team, and I model as well for the African Student Union.
You're welcome, Jessica. Welcome to this platform. So we want you to join in the conversation about self-discovery. What is your insight about self-discovery? What can you say? Is self-discovery something we need to do before we go into a serious relationship, or is not? What do you think?
I think self-discovery is important regardless of if you're trying to get into a relationship or not. Yes, you have to discover yourself, or else you don't know what you're doing here on earth. Like, that's just how it is. So people don't know if they want to go to school, they want to go to college, or they want to go to trade school, or they just want to just lay back, let life happen. So of course everyone's path is different. Not everyone has to go to school. Someone can start a business, etc., etc. But you have to discover yourself to have direction in your life. And if you don't have direction in your life, then you're going to experience a lot of imposter syndrome, and you're going to feel like you're a waste of space on this earth, and that's not what God has destined for any of us. But regarding relationships, you can't learn about someone else if you're not ready to learn about yourself. Because if you're trying to learn about someone else and you don't know who you are, you either get easily swayed by who that person is and get easily blinded, or you just become so overwhelmed and frustrated, and both parties in the relationship end up being hurt because none of you guys are actually ready or mature to commit to each other for long term. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for those points. I heard you say that self-discovery is important, not even because you want to go into a serious relationship with anyone. It's even just important for yourself so that you can know what you're here on earth for. You'll be able to have a sense of direction. And I heard you also say that how are you going to discover somebody else if you don't know who you are? You know, that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. If you don't know who you are, how do you want to spend time with someone else? Because you cannot be in a serious relationship with someone if you don't know who that person is. But the first question is, do you know who you are yourself? Thank you so much for that insight. Thank you for shedding light on that. So I want to ask, so if you have established that self-discovery is important, one of the things we're discussing about self-discovery is what things are important to you and what things are important to the other person. So do you think that if you meet somebody and the things that are important to you are not important to that person, do you think you and that person will be able to have a healthy relationship?
No. It's impossible. Why? Because both parties will feel frustrated. You'll feel frustrated because you feel like you're not being listened to, you're not being understood. The other person will feel frustrated because they'll feel like you're nagging, you're forcing your ideals on them. Then that could lead into emotional abuse, like unnecessary pressure, and just resentment from both parties. So for example, like, I know for sure I don't want to marry someone who smokes. I don't want to raise my children around that. Or I need someone who's a Christian, right? I'm not gonna go marry a Muslim and be like, hey, let's go to church, or I want our kids to go to church instead of the mosque. Like, there's going to be a clash, whether you like it or not in some way. Even if you guys agree to split the month, like a child this week they go to the mosque, this week they go to the church, the child will grow up being a little bit confused. It's not really helpful to them. So you can't also think about yourself. You also have to think about the offspring you're bringing into this world, how it's going to affect them mentally, how it's going to affect them as they interact with other people. Because now they're like, well, I can't eat pork, but there's nothing in the Bible that says I can't eat pork, but in the Quran it says this. Like, that's just, no child wants to, be born into that, like, chaos, in my opinion. I'm not saying that in marriages you can't compromise, but there's just some things you cannot compromise at all. And if you try to do it, then you're going to drain yourself.
Wow. Thank you so much for that insight. You're really even going deep, like touching the aspects that really, from the beginning that this is who you are. These are the things that are important to you. And then you cross your boundary by accepting the other person, knowing that two of you have like contradictory interests. Yeah. You understand? And that's what she's trying to point out, that there's going to be what?
Clash.
There will be clashes. There will be
internal battles.
There will be internal battles. You used another word. You said there will be chaos in the home or in the relationship. The children in that home will be confused. You said something again. There's a word you used. You said one person is going to be feeling emotionally abused. So thank you. And that is where we started from. Recently, we see a lot of emotional abuse going on relationships, in homes. Please, that's why we said let's start from the foundation. Did you check before you went into relationship with that person? Did you check all these things we're talking about? Did you check them? If you didn't check them, you cannot blame the devil later on in the future. You should take responsibility for your what? For your decisions. Yes. For the choices that you made, for the decisions that you made. If you meet somebody and the person is always angry,
yeah, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
Get out. Like, you
understand? Like, wouldn't you know someone is always angry? And wouldn't you know, like, if somebody is always angry at the beginning, what kind of person would that be in the future?
It's gonna change. It's gonna change. They're not gonna change.
They're not gonna change.
Human beings don't change that fast.
Human beings don't change that fast. This is a young adult saying that to me. Okay? What would you say about self-deception? What role do you think self-deception plays in all of this?
Self-deception is, I'll just give a brief definition.
Yeah.
It's just lying to yourself.
Lying to yourself.
Constant denial. For example, I value not having sex before marriage, right? And I meet someone who's a Christian, he checks all the boxes, but he's like, I mean, since we're gonna get married, since we're dating to marry, then there's no problem. We should have sex, you know, just so we're sure. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I believe you, but deep down, as a Christian, I should know
that
obviously it's wrong. But two, it's not guaranteed that God wants us to be together. Especially if he's saying that. Like, obviously that's not God's will in your relationship. But I go ahead and do it either way. That's self-deception. Because I know for sure I was not supposed to do that. Or settling for less when you know you deserve more. I'm not going to stay with someone who's put his hands on me even once. Or even almost. Almost is already a big sign that you need to leave. A lot of females have been in abusive relationships for years and no one knows anything until she's on the cusp of dying, and then she becomes more vocal about it. But it's like, I understand, like, abusive relationships, they're hard to come out of. You know, there's a lot of emotional trauma, that shame. You don't want people to know that you're going through that because everyone thinks everything's perfect in your life. I feel like when it starts showing itself, that's when us young people, us young women especially, need to take a step back. Like, honestly, forget everything like you feel like you've invested, whether it's money, emotional feelings, time into that person. Your life should be the first thing that you value. And deceiving yourself that you can stay in that and handle it is just gonna slowly kill you.
That's right.
And then you just start to lose like your sense of
That's
self.
Right.
And that's not God's will for us. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you know, when you talked about like, you know, that for you, sex before marriage is a no-no. You understand me? That's one of the values you uphold. It just took me down memory lane, because I said I was going to share that story. I shared in my previous video. It was still the same brother, right? Because we're talking about things that are important to us, and things that are important to the other person, right? So part of the values I upheld too before, as a single lady, was no sex before marriage. Because why should I want sex before marriage? I'm a born again Christian. I minister in the church. You understand me? I wanted to build a Christian home. Why would I agree to sex before marriage? It's against, you know, the will of God, what we're taught in the Bible, right? And then this quote and unquote brother, one of the days we're having a conversation, now said to me, oh, you're gonna get pregnant before we do the traditional marriage, right? Because you know, the traditional marriage, right, it takes some time to be finished. You know, we'll do the first stage, the second stage, the third stage before we finally do the wedding. So you're gonna get pregnant so that by the time we now finish it, I'm like, hello. I said to him, excuse me. I said, if you met me when I was even a teenager, I can even understand the reason why I would allow your pressure to get on me. I said, never. Not even at my age. I was 27, 28 when this quote unquote brother was saying this to me. And I was deeply rooted in Christ. I knew who I was, and I know who I am, right? Like that came to me like a total red flag about his personality, about his belief system, about his Christianity, everything. I'm telling you, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back for me about him. And I had to put an end. I'm telling you the truth. I put an end to that relation. I'm like, oh, we're not even thinking, you understand me? We're not thinking in the same direction at all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, remember I told you in my last video that he was still the same person that told me, oh, when your family comes, I will entertain them with non-alcoholic drinks, and when mine come, we entertain them with alcoholic drinks. So, like, self-deception. I would have been deceiving myself to accept all of that. You understand? To settle for things I know that I do not value. Like, I don't like those kind of stuff. His value system was the opposite of my own value system, even though we are Christians together. You understand me? So even when you meet somebody in the church, you need to sit down and talk. You need to sit down and have a conversation. You need to understand the person. First of all, you need to know who you are. Then you take a further step to know who that person is. Meeting people in the church is not enough. Finally, I want to ask you, just be honest with me. This last question, and we'll just wrap it up. So do you think we, the older adults, having this conversation with you upcoming young adults, do you think it's necessary or not? Do you think it's relevant or not? Given all that is going on in the society, that you see, because I know you're on Instagram, I know you see all this craziness. Do you think having this, every mother and fathers having this conversation with their sons, mothers having these conversations with their daughters, do you think it's something we should be doing or not?
Definitely, I think it's very important and core to bringing up your child, because there's a lot of things like you'll see, like when the child grows, they leave, like go to college, you see a lot of stuff, and it's easy to get very distracted and get lost. As a Christian, you can get distracted, but if you don't retract back to God, you can get lost after getting distracted. And sometimes, unfortunately, for a lot of people around my age, it's like they feel like they've reached that point of no return where it's just hard to go back to God. Just to finalize, I think it's the responsibility of parents to teach their kids about self-discovery, but also allow your kids to teach you about their journey to self-discovery as well. Because I feel like from a young person's perspective, a lot of times we feel like, okay, our parents will just keep talking, but there's so much going on in our head. Sometimes you feel like you can't really voice what you're thinking, and sometimes it's hard, because you're like, oh, if I say this, am I gonna get in trouble? Or what if mommy and daddy see me differently? So it's up to the parents to open up that safe space, of course, but it's really important for us young people as well to understand that our parents are coming from a very good place. I know for sure that my parents don't hate me. They want the best for me, even though sometimes, you might feel a certain type of way, but it does come from a good place. It's just sometimes you have to figure out how to balance communication from both sides. Like us, the children don't come off rude, and then the parents don't come off, intimidating or terrifying. So it takes time, it takes the grace of God.
So thank you.
Thank you
for coming on the show today. Thank you for the insights you provided from your perspective as a young adult. So Thank you so much for letting us know that it's important that parents have these kind of conversations with you guys so that you can have a good foundation, and so that when you're out there in college, you're interacting with your peers, you don't get lost. On this note, we want to end this segment again. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and please be on the lookout for more beautiful videos, all right, from us. I told you we are on a journey, and it's going to be a journey to success. Okay, we love you. See you next time. Bye bye.